Let's now move our attention to the other big story that we are tracking on WION, where the Indian Ministry of External Affairs has confirmed that the farmers' issues were discussed during the Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi and the Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau's phone call. Now, the External Affairs Ministry has responded to the Canadian Prime Minister's statement on the discussions, and the ministry has said that the Canadian government has in fact lauded India's efforts in handling the protests.
On the farmers' protest, Prime Minister Trudeau commended efforts of the Government of India to choose the path of dialogue as befitting a democracy. He also acknowledged the responsibility of his government in providing protection to Indian diplomatic personnel and premises in Canada.
Now, remember, in December last year, the Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau had publicly commented on the ongoing farmers' protest in India. He had said that he is, of course, watching very closely the developments that are taking place in terms of the farmers' protest within and around the Indian capital. This had angered New Delhi. The matter was raised in both Ottawa and New Delhi, with the MEA summoning the Canadian envoy to India and handing a pretty strong démarche. India at that time had conveyed to Canada that such comments pertaining to the internal affairs of India were unwarranted and were unacceptable, and therefore could impact ties. Now, the Indian government's response with regard to the discussions between the two prime ministers has come at a time when Prime Minister Modi has been making a pretty concerted effort to reach out to the farmers, even during his address to the Parliament on Wednesday. The Prime Minister has reiterated his government stance on discussing the agriculture reform laws, clause by clause, with the agitating farmers. But the farmers say that if this is what the Prime Minister had wanted to do, if this is what the government had wanted to do, then the government should have discussed these farm laws, before passing the bills in the Parliament and turning it into a law. Now, Prime Minister Modi, in fact, went on record to say that the protests are part of a democratic process, and he also firmly believes in dialogue being the only means of finding a solution. All of this was said by the Indian Prime Minister. Now, the Canadian Prime Minister's acknowledgement of India's robust democratic process may not immediately ease the strain in ties, but it could be a step in that direction. WION is now available in your country. Download the app now and get all the news on the move.